What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time today. I am wrapping up an eventful week in Los Angeles covering Pac-12 Media Day and really getting into the nitty-gritty of preseason talk and some shows you're going to see here in the future. I'm very excited about this, and I'm very excited about what's coming this season. But the story that we are here to talk about, the headline, as you will, is the SEC has formally invited both Oklahoma and Texas to join the Southeastern Conference. This means the Southeastern Conference will go from 14 teams to 16 teams, giving it the largest conference of member institutions that we have seen thus far in the history of the sport. They and the Big Ten each had 14 before the additions of Oklahoma and Texas were put into motion. Again, you got to ask to be invited. OU and Texas did that. You have to be invited. The SEC did that. Now we get to see how and if still these logistics can work. Because A, do you want to get out of your deal as quickly as possible if you're Oklahoma and Texas with the Big 12? Yeah, but your deal is through June 30th, 2025. You still got better part of 3.5 years to try to get into the SEC before that deal gets up. But we've also had a number of things that have had to happen for this to happen, and we've already seen some of the unforeseen consequences of Oklahoma and Texas's actions, to say nothing of the SEC. But I found it was interesting that my man's over at The Athletic, Sam Conn Jr., broke the story. A&M is not going to obstruct the move by voting nay, right? That was the move that was put out the day before we heard all this news. And I thought, did you need Texas A&M to get to the 11 of 14? No. But I also don't necessarily see why you wouldn't say no if you knew that was the case and you really did want to keep keep Texas out, because now the thing for us is Texas and Texas A&M got to play that Thanksgiving game again. And for me, having not seen that game played since 2011, and been played every year since like 1918 up until then, I'm excited about the prospect of that happening. But again, until you see Oklahoma and Texas with schedules that have them playing SEC teams, I'm still not all the way sure this even gets done. And I'm starting to really feel kind of getting into it here with the way that the Big 12 has responded to the news of OU and Texas wanting to leave them and leave them early. I mean, Bob Bowlesby has stuck his neck out in response to all of this. And I think from there, you don't really have a whole lot of choices, because there's also reports that the American is trying to poach Big 12 teams. I like to see the Big 12 and the American, if it comes to this, form a merger and call it the Big American, which has layers, like lots of layers. Sounds like a burger that I would absolutely demolish, among other things, right? The big American, the loud American. You can go any direction you want to go with that. But that's kind of where I'm at with all of this. Like, for the sake of this video, let's assume that Oklahoma and Texas join the SEC like many of you already have. Again, I'm not all the way there. But if they do, you're going to see some moving and shaking in the conferences. If you're the Big Ten, I don't think you need to add anybody. I think you're good with 14 teams. I think you have some storied teams. I think, Ohio State is a founding member of the Big Ten, doesn't really think about leaving, and they're the class of your conference. If anything, what you have is an Oklahoma problem in the Big Ten, where you haven't seen a really great challenger to Ohio State supremacy for the better part of 20 years, if we're really going to get down into the nitty-gritty of it. Depending on how you feel about those Lloyd Carr years, you can even go back to 25 years. The Pac-12, though, gets to be very interesting, because I'm not at all sure that the 8 members left of the Big 12 wouldn't want to go look around, and they certainly wouldn't want to join a non-Power 5 conference, though the American might make the argument that, hey, we're a Power Conference now, and we can negotiate with that, because that's where the Autonomous 5 moniker comes from. It comes from you demand the largest value for your conferences, and therefore your broadcast partners kind of want to talk with you just a little bit more, and that's American, right? We're living in capitalism, and that's another unintended consequence of this. The new president of Oklahoma State, K. Shrum, came out strong against Oklahoma in particular in this move, even saying, why would an Oklahoma follow Texas. Like, they've never done that before. But it's really about ruthless capitalism if you're taking the point that OU and Texas are, which is we can make a whole lot more money in the SEC. But again, your path to the playoff just got that much harder. And the last thing that I want to see is Oklahoma have a run, not unlike what Nebraska's had since joining the Big Ten. It ain't all been fun, right? Same thing with Colorado joining the Pac-12. It ain't all been fun. Missouri, Texas A&M joining the SEC. It ain't all been fun. If you are used to winning, and you're used to winning a lot, getting 10, 11, 12 wins a season, I don't think that Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC is the way you want to go. Because as good as Oklahoma thinks it is, every time they get into a playoff game against an SEC opponent or Clemson, they get mollywopped, skull dragged. And I think the thought is, if you're in that conference, you see it week in, week out, you're recruiting the same players that they're recruiting, you're just recruiting them to Norman as opposed to Tuscaloosa, Athens, or Baton Rouge, you can elevate yourself to playing the kind of football that Alabama plays. Because that's the only reason that I would even think about, contemplate, go to the SEC is I think I can have a run like Nick Saban and Alabama have had since 2009 when they won the 6 national championships in that time. But again, there's a reason why Alabama was down before Nick Saban got there. I mean, you forget, they lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year there, okay? It was a rebuild, and it was all him, wasn't Alabama. Alabama had been a storied program for years, and they've been down basically since Gene Stallings. So it's not even that cut and dry and that simple. Again, I still see some steps that have to be made here before Oklahoma and Texas are SEC teams. But if that's what you're hell-bent on doing, more power to you being hell-bent on it. I mean, belief in yourself is a big part of this channel. Belief in yourself is a big part of how I go about it. I also believe in making sound and smart decisions. But again, we will continue to see how this goes, continue to see how this affects us. But the jokes that I've seen so far about the best SEC linebacker in history being Kenneth Murray or being a quarterback being Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, those are going to get to be even more fun. I would also add anybody that didn't play in the SEC doesn't get SEC credit, just as anybody that didn't play in the Big 12 doesn't get Big 12 credit. And that's really what is astonishing to me. The Big 12 was formed in 1995, 96, basically so they could take advantage of trying to make more money with their football product. And the founding members were, among them, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, Missouri, Nebraska, A&M. What? You're going to see all of those walk out the door. Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado. That's 6 of your founding 12. It's half your league. Yeah, it's not exactly a ringing endorsement. All right, that's it for me. There's